everyone doing? Enjoy the bye week. Maybe not the as much enjoyment as I did. Yeah, get a chance to spend some family time and do the normal stuff at the beginning of the week, self scout, look back a little bit and reflect. But then more importantly, get a chance in the middle of a long season to recharge and do the normal school duties and watch a little soccer and have some fun with it. So that was a great chance to recharge.
How different do things feel for you relative to, say, the first two games of the season, and here we are now, as you just said, post-bye, in terms of how this offense is flowing right now?
I think for us, confidence, the collective group, being at an elite communication level throughout the last several weeks there. But as far as the feel each Monday, I think around football long enough where having that steady approach where when things are going well, still have to approach Monday with that mindset of correcting, getting better, and improving throughout the course of the year, and the same coming off the losses at the beginning of the year as well. So having a steady approach, obviously having the confidence building throughout the group right there is something that we've seen on the field and something that we're looking to continue to develop.
You went through the self-scout.
Good. We got self-scout questions, either one. Yeah, I think the big thing for self-scout too, for me, is that's a weekly process. I know, as different things evolve and technologies, it's something that our departments do a great job, whether it's analytics or the different information some of our younger coaches provide for us on a weekly basis. But then we get a chance to have an off time and truly look back. I think the big thing, obviously, is starting faster, keep putting an emphasis on that. And a lot of that is going to come down to opening drive, third down conversions, knowing that if you can convert on third downs, you can extend those opening drives, you can extend those first quarter drives and play a little bit more efficient at the beginning of games. But it's also not to say that if you play well throughout the course of the game, have a chance to rebound from those things if it doesn't start perfectly. So, but that would be the biggest takeaway from the week off and looking back at some self-scout.
Matt explained to us that it was right after the Jacksonville game that you organized the opening plays for the players, like putting them in order. Can you explain kind of like what that process was like and the impetus to do that?
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's been different places. I've been different orders of how you present the openers. Whether for me it had been priority calls where you have a group of plays on runs and passes, and then really the focus there was more on how we're communicating it to the players on that. Still a very similar process in terms of going over those, walking through those on the Saturday night. But it was really good just overall, coming out of that week where we talked about that a little bit more. Just as important of the openers was the in-game communication, some of the other different things that we were doing, and really just honing in on, people coming from a lot of different places, how we see them, how we want to verbalize and communicate, what we're looking at each week. And so, that was one of the details that came out of that, but there was a lot of things, and every week, I had a chance to talk with some guys yesterday as well, and just goes back to that constant communication, and every single week looking to see, where can we improve as coaches, where can we improve as players to get a better operation going.
How important has it been for you, how valuable has it been for you to be willing to adjust when you spend all offseason planning the offense and then get into the games and say, okay, I have to be willing to be flexible?
Sure, I think that's the beauty of football is that every week, every game it's a week to week business. It's a week to week situation. So the ability to adapt and adjust and overcome whether it's adversities that are happening, whether it's something that we want to tweak schematically, whether it's how we're interacting with guys. I think that's where it's always unique, and there's no one situation that's going to remain the same throughout the course of a season. Each year is its own individual year. Each player that you deal with or person that you come into contact with, is has a different situation when they walk out of the building. So I think adaptability, ability to adjust, ability to communicate is something that's going to be always important in football, and that really leads to in-game where, the most important time to be able to adjust and adapt in a situation throughout the course of the game and not wait until it's too late.
When you talk about the in-game communication evolving, what changes or what things did you do to tailor that?
Yeah, I think just the the drive ends and just being in that, let's let everyone decompress for a sec, go through the drive. A lot of things that we've done in the past, stuff that we've talked about, but like everything, just focusing on the detail of it and how we're going to do it and the consistency of it and the consistency in which we go about that process. And I think, the great thing from the player side is seeing how, willing they were. There's two-way communication on all of these things, and seeing just that intentionality of, okay, here's how we're doing it. Okay, we got it, and let's keep building upon, how we're interacting and how we're doing it.
What was their input on how they wanted to do it?
in terms of that.
In-game communication part.
Yeah, well, this was more of coaches talking to the players. Again, there's two-way conversations, all these, and just more getting on the same page of, hey, let's let everyone decompress. Let's go ahead and have a chance as coaches to go through it, take a look at the surfaces, and really similar processes, but more, like I said, honing in on that process, so that way we have a good, consistent situation between every single drive.
Shane, we talked earlier in the year about how Caleb handled, his struggles in the first couple of weeks.
Mhm.
How have you seen him handle success?
Yeah, I think coming in the building the same way each Monday, same way we talk about it as coaches. I think this is it's always such an unbelievable opportunity every day you get to come to work in a place like this, and so having that appreciation, which he always does, and that understanding of each week, you got to bring it as the quarterback, as the natural leader of a team, and so seeing when there was some down times before, working through it, seeing having some success, still coming to work on Monday, ready to be corrected, ready to have things that we can look at and focus on to improve on each week.
And when we talked to Keenan Allen yesterday, he sounded relieved that he got involved. As he said, he felt like he was kind of left out of the party. How did you get him to that point where he was more involved, and how do you keep that going?
Yeah, I think for Keenan, talk about an ultimate pro, knowing that a guy that's accumulated so many reps, so many catches, so many yards, touchdowns, all the things, to deal with a little bit of injury things at the beginning of the season there. Missed him on a few opportunities early on in the season. And what I saw from Keenan is showing up to work every single day, ready to ask questions, ready to talk through situations, ready to look how he can, blend, in with everyone else that's on the offense. And so I think when the opportunities presented themselves this past 2 weeks ago, I guess now in Jacksonville, he's ready to make his plays, which he always is. And I think, one of the hard parts is always going to be when you have DJ, Keenan, Rome, Cole, Gerald, Swift, all these guys, Roshan, that were, mixing and matching, touches for it. Each week might play out a little bit differently, but always knowing, for us as a coaching staff, we know Keenan's a guy that can, is a unique route runner. His ability to get separation, his ability to get open, aggressive hands, the way he can win at the top of routes, is something that we're always going to, from a schematic standpoint, trying to get him involved in as much as we can.
And we know that Caleb put a lot of work in before he even got here, working with his private quarterbacks coach on this offense, and at USC having Cliff as a resource.
Mhm.
Not many quarterbacks, I imagine, at the college level have a coach that had the former offensive rookie of the year. Could you tell his NFL acumen based on that sort of thing when you first got him?
Yeah, I think for Caleb, just talking football with him, it's just his big picture knowledge of the game, his understanding of coverages, his understanding of the spatial awareness of different plays, his ability to really understand going under center and some of the play action things that he's been able to play at a high level with. Same thing in the run game. So it was more about having that, he had that big picture knowledge, and then just getting on the same page with how are we going to call things, because whether it was at USC or different places, a lot of similar concepts or similar things people are doing, but it's just about how we're talking about them, how we're communicating them, and so he's just done a great job of having that good base and then building from that base and getting up everybody involved and on the same page.
Colton Met has caught about 90% of his targets this year from Caleb. What have you seen about their rapport and their development together on the field?
Yeah, I think they've done a great job. Cole's done a great job being a leader on this team, bringing energy and passion every single day that he steps on the field. And so, he's a great communicator when you talk about that and you talk about the rapport that he has with Caleb right now. I think a lot of that's developed in the offseason, in training camp, and then it's continued to develop during the season right here. And so when the quarterback has good trust in a tight end and a guy that can work edges and win one-on-ones, as well as be a friendly target in zone coverages, he's had some good opportunities and he's maximized those opportunities.
And oftentimes we hear great players talk about how they want to silence the doubters. They want to put themselves in a position where nobody can question them. Do you see any of that out of Caleb with the conversation around Jaden, how great he's been with the 1-2 matchup?
Yeah, I think that we haven't gotten into any of those conversations. I just think in general, Caleb is such an elite competitor, and his focus and his drive is being the best that he can be at his position, and knowing that the sky's the limit for that final outcome when it's all said and done. I think what drives Caleb every day is to be great, and he works at it, and he's a good person that works hard. So the results, I think, will speak for themselves as time goes on.
Shane, how specifically has Matt helped you through the process of finding what works for this offense?
I think going back to communicating with him about defensive structures that we're seeing, different things that we can talk through, and then especially in situational football, getting on, talking through situations every single week, every single day, different things that are going to happen. So it's been a good, open dialogue, and there's always good things that you can hear, especially different defensive coaches I worked with in the past. When you have a guy like Coach Eberflus that does such a good job, structuring defenses, attacking offenses. So getting his input from that defensive lens to say, not without getting into scheme specific, but things that might give them problems or things that he sees as he's watching our next opponent from a defensive structure standpoint. So just good open dialogue, and taking all that information in and compiling it and seeing how we can streamline it to something that's operational and functional on game day.
You guys work together on it from start to finish throughout the week on that week's game plan, or is it more something that you come up with and then take to him for some input, feedback? What's the process of putting
Yeah,
together?
I think we have our game plan process where obviously he's heavily involved in the defensive side, but he's around a ton of offensive meetings. So it's more of those conversations as the early in the week goes, and then if there's any input that he wants to add or all those things as the week goes on, we're always all ears on that. And so just good conversations, good football conversations, from that defensive lens.
Is there something that you see now as the offensive line seems to be gelling more, that some of the guys that you've inserted in there have added, that have kind of made that process happen quicker based on kind of where you started, where it seemed like it was a struggle to start the season?
I think those guys have done a good job of just getting better every single week. They've worked hard. They show up. That group as an offensive line led by Chris Morgan, shows up, ready to attack the day. I think we go back to some of the walkthrough settings and some of those things where guys are really maximizing those opportunities to communicate with each other, to get on the same page, how they're going to hit blocks, how they're going to do things, and then taking that to the individual periods where they've done a really good job. And right across the board, the thing that's been most noticeable is every single week the group of O-linemen that's in there has worked better together, has done a great job of finishing, played with great effort, great intensity. And then I think the thing that you see out of those guys is when the result of the play is a touchdown, or there's the hard work paying off, you see the excitement and the enthusiasm of those guys joining the skill guys that may have scored the touchdown right there. So you just see the vibe, the temperament, and the effort, and the hard work really paying off for those guys.
What did you make of Caleb's response to the interception?
Yeah, I think next play mindset, go back to talking about sideline communication, getting back on the sideline, talking about it. Okay, we just missed a good op right there, but it doesn't impact. There's a good chance to take a shot right there, good opportunity there, and then, hey, we're right back at it. Can't let that last play impact the next play in a negative way, but can learn from it and move forward for the next time that scenario might occur.
Pissed him off almost in a good way. Did you feel that from him when you were interacting in that moment?
Yeah, I don't think any quarterback's ever going to be excited after an interception. So I think that goes back to his competitive side, where he's competitive in the moment. That instant reaction is anger or frustration, but then quickly resetting to say, why did it happen? What can we do better on the next play? And then what's our next drive going to look like? What are we starting with? Okay, we're on, and we've already moved on from that.
Shane, for the 31-yard touchdown to Cole with the orbit motion for Keenan, the 2 fake screen passes, can you walk us through just the play design there and why that worked so well?
Yeah, I mean, it's a play. I know, Kyle Shanahan did a great job utilizing it against us in Seattle. We utilize it in Seattle. It's been utilized kind of in college football for a good amount of time. So again, those are just plays when you have some different ones that fit the structure of the defense that might pop up week to week, having a good inventory of things from the past or things from around the league or around college football that might be able to be implemented in that situation. And then, then it always comes down to the players making it come to life, because, the play design, it's a solid concept right there, but Caleb's ability to and Keenan's ability to start with the fake to the left right there, and then the running back with Swift going out to the right, and the guard pull, all the action that goes into it, the ball handling from Caleb, and then Cole. So that's just a lot of preparation and precise work that those guys put in walkthrough settings or in individual settings to have a good result on the field.
How often would you say you did that play in Seattle, and what was like the hit rate? Was it always a touchdown? Did you just hit it half the time?
No, Carolina sacked us, scored a touchdown on another one. I know the Niners have used it. It goes back into some college stuff there where it came to life at different phases. So yeah. All right.
You mentioned the play caller. What does he do well?
Well, packaging, just the overall packaging of their concepts. They have multiple personnel groups. He knows exactly what he wants to try and accomplish, how he wants to attack within those personnel groups situationally. Um, there is, one of the things that somehow we can ascertain at times is a tendency in a person within a personnel group. And there's what I would say extreme balance within every personnel group. There's no tendency as far as run and pass within each groups. So there's tremendous balance, and we have to really do a great job of utilizing our keys and trusting what we're seeing.
How did things change conceptually when Marcus Mariota came into the game?
I don't think it did. I don't think it did, and I don't anticipate it will if he is the starter. They're going to run their offense, and he's capable of executing exactly what they want to get done within all of the concepts.
What stands out about the way, I mean, they run a lot of no huddle and they'll run a lot of different plays out of the same personnel groupings. How are they so efficient at doing that? What challenge does that pose to a defense?
Well, we have to do a really good job of making sure that we communicate and that we're ready when the ball is snapped. And as far as the pieces are concerned, their bodies. To your point, they can execute the multiple run concepts from different personnel groups, and we have to make sure that we're ready, we're communicating and getting the call in play and just getting ourselves set and ready to go.
Eric, specifically with their run game, how do you describe sort of the design and really the multiplicity of the things they do with their running game?
There are a lot of counter schemes. A lot of offensive linemen pulling one way with the option of handing the football off and the quarterback keeping the football. Some of those things, and they have the traditional, what I call the traditional core run plays. Some of the gap schemes and attacking the bubble side of your defensive front. So they have a broad menu of run concepts, quarterback design runs, reverses, runs designed to get the receivers the football, to get the tight end the football. They have two. They can come out with two tailbacks. And so we have to make sure that when the dust is settled, we trust our keys. We're where we're supposed to be relative to the call, and we execute.
With Robinson, Eric, with Robinson, what in his skill set has allowed him to have the production that he's had?
Very physical. First of all, they pave the way for him. They do an excellent job of blocking your configuration. So however you're aligned, whether you're in a 5-man front, a 4-man front, they know how to do that. And so he's a downhill player. He protects the football, and he's a tough out, very, very tough, leans forward. And so he's going to hit the hole with authority, and he's going to challenge your ability to tackle him.
Coach, it has been very stout, but if there's any chink that may be in the armor, it could be said that it's the run defense, how you've seen a lot of running backs get high yardage, high carry yards, things like that. Do you see it that way when you zoom in? Because when you kind of get a little closer, it seems like there's maybe one big play to start things off, but then you guys lock in and you're able to stop the run.
Yeah, well, I'm going to respond to that by just referencing our last performance. We had a two-headed monster over in London, Jacksonville, and I think they got 68 yards rushing. And you can attribute that to the way the game was going, or the tenacity of the guys and the determination that they had to make sure that that was not an option for them. And I anticipate our guys taking that same mentality and moving it into this week. When you have an explosive run, there are a lot of variables. There are run fit variables. There are gap control variables. There's some of these things. And there's a lot of determination in that room to make sure that we move that particular part of our defense into the top 5 the way that we are with some of the others.
If Jaden is able to play, do you anticipate like a different menu of plays for him, just knowing he is vulnerable with the rib injury?
No. If he's out there, I'm going to anticipate him being at his best, and I won't try and anticipate or speculate about what they're going to do with him. We're going to anticipate him being at his best and doing the things that we've been seeing.
If, as you said, they don't necessarily change much conceptually with Marcus Mariota as the quarterback, does that actually make it easier for you guys to prepare for, and I know you guys have to probably prepare for 2 quarterbacks, but does it make it easier because it's the same concepts?
Well, I wouldn't say easier. We just understand that the offense should be consistent. We're anticipating that, but the skill sets are a little bit different. I mean, Mariota has experience. He's able to run the football. He can make throws. This person has been in a starter's role, at various points in his career, so he's seen a lot of defensive football, a lot of arrangements. He can make quick decisions. So he'll come in with a slightly different skill set and experience level than Jaden Daniels.
In the time that you've spent with Montez Sweat over the last 6 to 8 months, what do you define as his sort of hallmark characteristic as a football player?
Well, first of all, he's got a well-rounded skill set. He has tremendous leadership attributes. I think I mentioned back in training camp how we were walking off the football field and Montez decided to lend some of his perspective on how he tries to set up his rushers against different protection concepts. So that's who he is. He's a person that's big play capable every time that he lines up. And he's a person that you win with, as opposed you can win because of and not just with. And so, we're glad to have him on the team. I'm glad that he's here, and I'm looking forward to what he's going to do this week.
How well equipped is this defense to handle no huddle with regard to, substitutions, matchups, and the fact that you might not be able to get the personnel on the field in certain situations that you want?
Well, anytime you have a team that features that type of an offensive system, do we have to stop and kind of work on how we need to make sure that our operations are clean against that? Absolutely. We have to stop and say, okay, we could get no huddle at any point in the ball game. Does that make you go back and focus a little bit on that particular part? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, we've been preparing for that since we've started. Our offense will frequently feature no huddle when we're working against them. We got that throughout training camp. When we're installing our defensive package, we have to make sure that we work on that particular contingency. And you have to be sharp. Our substitutions, we have to make sure our substitutions are right when we can do that and when we have to stay back. Getting the personnel on and off the field, there are things that we have to make sure that we're on top of because that's a featured part of what they're doing, and we will be.
When you look at Terry McLaurin and what he's able to do, I don't know if you got a chance to look at last year's game, but Jalen Johnson is that matchup. It has been really good going up against Terry McLaurin throughout his career. What does he do that just makes it so difficult for Terry to get off and you think you can still utilize as an advantage?
Well, first of all, he has tremendous speed. And that'll force you to maintain a position over the top. You can't let the ball get behind you. We don't want the ball thrown over our head. His routes are precise, and he understands coverage variation and the alignment of the corner. What he can do to kind of take advantage or try and work what you're doing defensively. So there's a lot of knowledge within that. And he's got the hands and the run after catch element to make a reception, to turn a short pass into a long gain if you're not careful. So it's not just a corner that's matching up against him. We've got to make sure defensively, whether we have a safety over the top or we have pursuit coming from our under coverage, that we're doing everything we can to contain him.
What with Elijah Hicks, if he has to play for Brisker again this week with him in protocol, what stood out to you the most about his game against Jacksonville and just his growth throughout the last year?
Well, first of all, the way that he just competed. I go back to the first drive that we had against Jacksonville, and there was a nice pass, and he just would not concede the reception. He would not concede the catch, and he did a really good job. Played with a lot of confidence, was where he needed to be on the fumble that TJ forced. He's there to pick the football up and to start advancing the ball back toward the right end of the field. So his poise, his confidence, his swag, it's great to have a person like that can go in the football game and function as a starter in every single way, and you not lose anything. And obviously you don't replace Jaquan Brisker. You don't replace him, but to have a person that can come into the game, like I mentioned, with that level of confidence is just a great asset to have. So was really excited for him and looking forward to how he'll compete this week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good afternoon. How's everyone?
Good.
I'm doing great, thank you. Obviously, feels like forever since the last time got to see you all. Was in London, so obviously that was a great team win for us. Really good momentum, 3 straight, obviously. Fun plane ride home. Just happy with what the guys were able to do during that time. Obviously, it's been a lot of time since it's happened, but obviously we'd be remiss to mention if we didn't mention Cole. doing an outstanding job in that game. Impressive what he did. Obviously, happy for him to get that honor. But more so, I'm just happy with the person that he is, what he does for our offense, how dependable he is, what he was able to go in there and do and help, and how the guys had no panic on the sideline. I know you hear different stories about what happened on the sideline, but there was no panic on the sideline, and he was ready to rock, and so was the rest of the guys. So um, that doesn't go without, notice for everyone. Torrey was as calm as he could be during that time, and you always hate to see a guy go down. I hate to see Scott go down. He's done a phenomenal job filling in for us. So the human side of me has to mention Scott, because I love him to death, just like I love Scales to death. And like my dad said, always, for anything, God rest his soul. But my dad says, hey, whatever you do in the dark, whether it's good or bad, is going to come to a light. And that's an example of what Cole has been working on, what those guys work on every Thursday, and they're going to work on it again today. So you can not do it and be, oh crap, when it comes up, or you can do it every day like we've done, or every Thursday like we've done since we've been here. And it's 3 years until it happened, and good for that kid. So with that, we'll open it up to questions.
With Scott, when the injury happened, it looked very serious. He was ruled out almost immediately. And
Mhm.
the next time you get out on the practice field, he's a full participant. How surprised are you at the arc and where he's at now compared to where you were in London?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, by the grace of God that the kid is able to be back on the practice field this week, and he's a awesome individual, and that goes to show you, like, it just sometimes it works out. So I'm happy for that kid, and we'll see where it is. Obviously, you all know that we have McQuaid here on the practice squad, who's a consummate professional, true pro as well. So we'll see. But happy for a lot of guys. The bye definitely helped us. So happy to see him back on the practice field.
Have you ever had to use the emergency snapper before?
Emergency snapper, I have not. I've had to use an emergency holder. I've had an emergency, who was at the last place I was at. It was Kyle Juszczyk. I used an emergency holder before. I've had to have an emergency, both kicker and punter before, but never a long snapper, but have worked on it for, 18 years. So ready for the moment when it comes up.
You had been in a position where you had to punt. Is there kind of a modified snap there with Cole, or would it look just like a regular punt?
No, Cole works on that. I got full confidence in Cole and our protection unit if we had to punt. And the thing about that, which will be overlooked, all right, was Fluce's communication with everyone and what we work on situationally. So what most people do in that situation is they panic, right? And then you got to go for two, or you can't punt the ball. And then if you can't get the first down, then your defense is in a bad position, and it can change games. If you go back and study the history of ball, which I know you all do and I know people do, there's been some catastrophic things that happen when you lose a long snapper. But Fluce's communication with Shane and Coach Washington and myself was outstanding. And he kept everybody calm, and everybody was calm anyway. But the way we talked through all of that to help each phase and play complementary football, and the way we never punted again, it's a credit to those players. It's a credit to Shane. It's a credit to Fluce and Washington and all those young backups that we had that went in there and played good. So again, just one game, it's over, and now we got a tough opponent we're looking at.
Richard, when you look at Washington's kick coverage unit, what impresses you about their personnel and kind of the aggression with which they do cover kicks?
Yeah, I mean, it's the strength of their football team when it comes to special teams. I mean, they got a lot of strengths. Okay, that's a well-personneled team, and that's a great question you're asking, Dan, because they set everything up off of their kickoff coverage unit. What impresses me is they have really good personnel, but they're also coached really well. And I've had numerous battles with this coordinator at the other spot I was at. A lot of good, hard-fought, heavyweight fights, and this will be another one. So they just do a good job of playing with good technique, and they have a good scheme, and they do a nice job with it, you know. So we're excited for the opportunity because we know it's going to be some returns.
Richard, when it comes to the preparation for Cole now at Longstaff, do you do anything differently, or is it still the same amount of reps he gets every Thursday at Longstaff?
Yeah, still the same, you know, still the same. And that's just one situation, like, you know, that he was involved in. Also, obviously, he was there on the hands team too, and he and DJ Moore do that for us. You know, they do a great job. And Khalil in the game actually was the one to recover that. But like, we have a team and a culture full of guys that would do anything we ask them to do, whether that's special teams, whether it's offense, whether it's defense, whether it's coming in the meeting, whether it's Jalen Johnson going to grab one of the young corners, or saying, hey, if somebody went down in practice, Jalen Johnson first guy to come to me and say, hey, so-and-so went down, we got a replacement for him. He doesn't play special teams, right? But we got the right type of culture, and that's a credit to Flus and to Ryan, the type of guys we got here. So,
What was it like for you to watch Blackwell, Jalen Jones, and Elijah Hicks, guys you've worked with a lot, make the impacts they made on defense?
yeah, I tell you what, Kevin, I mean, I couldn't be more happy and proud for those guys. So, like, it gives me chills because that's why we coach. That's what we work for. That's what we want them to have, is an opportunity to go on and be successful. And that's part of our motto, what we teach in our room. And we just show them examples of that over and over. I had a kid when I used to coach at the Commanders, Lorenzo Alexander, that made his first Pro Bowl as a special teams player. He went on to become a Pro Bowl pass rusher who Eric Washington coached and helped him get there, you know, to become that. I mean, it's just so many different guys, you know, that they look at every day. And when there's opportunity to go in there, then they got to play. And we talk about that in our room too, not taking credit for anything the defense did. They did that. The players did that. But just know it's a motto in our room where we show Raheem Mostert, where we show Fred Warner, where we show George Kittle, where we show what Sherrick McManus did, where we show what these guys, Robinson, Roy Harris, what they have become. Because, again, they know we're invested in them, and they know we want what's best for them. And they shouldn't be with us forever. They should be graduating. That's our greatest, I guess, say, greatest gift that we could see. Or greatest, you guys know what I'm trying to say, but it's the greatest thing that could happen.
As a coach, how do you clean up the illegal formations on the kickoffs? You had one against the Rams, now one against the Jaguars. Does that get frustrating? Is it still the new rules? How do you kind of clean that up with your guys?
Yeah, you just keep coaching it. Like, you keep coaching. If you look at it across the league, and we do, you look at it and you study it across the league through the bye week. Okay, there was 35 of those pre-snap penalties on kickoff return, and there's 25 live ball fouls. So that's the difference. So you just got to keep coaching it. It's happening all across the league. It's not that we are ever going to say it's okay, but you just got to keep coaching it. And it's a problem across the league right now. But we present that information to them. We teach them off of that. We show them across the league, and we turn every stone we can turn to help these kids get better, because I want them to be in a position that Blackwell, Elijah, and Jalen Jones were in, and be able to go graduate and make great lives and careers for themselves and their family.
Because all of this is so new, was there, at the beginning of the year, was there any kind of grace given if somebody was a little off the line, or was it, were the officials saying, hey, you're off, or anything like that in regards to those pre-snap special teams penalties?
Yeah, I think with anything, I think people just get better at it. Officials, us, in the preseason, there were way more pre-snap fouls, and then now, there are a little bit less. I mean, I guess the first game there weren't as many, in the first 1 or 2 games, but I think with repetitions, everybody gets, better at it. And I think, I can't tell you what the officials are saying in their room, but I know they're busting their tail trying to officiate it the right way, and we're busting our tail trying to make sure that we put the players in the best position to be successful and help the offense and defense.
Thanks, Richard.
All right, thanks.